Greetings, fellow travelers. Welcome on in. This is the RPG Cave. Of course, I'm doing the wrong intro. Of course, welcome on in to the 144th level of the RPG Cave. I'm one of your hosts, the level 199 Human Dark Lord, Ryan Turford, and I'm joined, as always, by the level 199 Elf Battle Alchemist, Dr. Garret Bland. How's it going, Garret?
I'm doing good, man. I noticed you're coming in high. You're like filling out notes as you're speaking, as you're going through the intro, and you're going all chaotic here, but no, it's all good, man.
I mean, I also got a text message at the same time. Then I also was looking at my phone while doing that too. So it's just like even more distractions.
You got a million things going on the same. That's okay. We're catching at an off state, but it's all good.
I mean, it's also too, it's early in the morning, Garret, for us. We're once again, we've moved, for folks that don't know, this was a good segue, everyone. Of course, Adam David, welcome, I say good morning. Good morning, Adam David. Hope you're having a lovely day. We have moved the show, Garret, to mornings. We made this announcement earlier this week. Full transparency, again, this is because of because I know a couple of people asked if there's anything wrong or anything like that. There's nothing wrong. It's just a change in my work schedule.
How dare you?
I have to work later in the night, which means that it kind of like overwrites the time that we would normally record in the evening. In fact, it's like that all week. So we decided to move the show to Saturday morning since last Saturday worked out so well. So there you go. We'll be here every Saturday going forward.
I'm up 8 a.m. Pacific time. I had my coffee. Anyways, yeah, I'm doing good, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, the weather is nice, Garret, which is nice. It's like
how good's the weather?
It's like 28 to 30 degrees outside.
Okay, so pretty good short weather outside.
Exactly. It's just shorts and t-shirt weather. Now, I mean, the humidity is pretty bad, but everything else is fine about it,
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
You want me to go through my 3 things now?
Of course. We always start the show with
all
the
right.
3 things, Garret.
Well, speaking of morning, I have a morning routine. I don't know if you have a morning routine, Ryan, but I always do. Typically, I wake up either by alarm or the dog whining. Typically, the dog is whining for me. So, wake up, feed the dog, take her around for a walk. Take 15, 20 minutes or something like that. Come back, make my coffee. Now, Ryan, do you drink coffee at all?
I drink coffee, but I do not drink caffeinated beverages at all. So, because I just can't drink caffeine. So I will drink decaf coffee, but it's not an every morning kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a routine. You know the Breville machine?
I do not.
It's the espresso machines that are like pretty fancy. It gets all pressurized, and you got the little tool to put the espresso powder in and everything. We got the whole thing here. We've had it for, I think, since 2020. Or something like that. It's been a staple here in the coffee. So I make a latte out of that. The coffee, every month I've been getting coffee beans from this company that ships coffee beans from around the world. Like it'll pick a country like Guatemala or I don't know, South Africa, something like that.
Just a random country that produces coffee beans.
Yeah, and they'll just send it over to me. And you get some different flavors for sure. So you never know what you're gonna get every month. It's a little surprise. We really made the switch from cow milk to oat milk, and it's been pretty good.
Oh,
with the latte. So there you go. That's my routine: is coffee with oat milk latte, and play with the dog a little bit because she gets just crazy in the morning, making sure to expel her energy.
She just wants you to know she's awake. That's what she's really trying to do.
That too, yeah. But now I'm here. That was my morning routine, Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, you want to know what my morning routine is, Garret?
Get out of bed.
Just the alarm has to wake me up at whatever ungodly time I have to wake up at, which is usually like noon or 1 o'clock, which is like so early for me. I just like crawl out of bed and be like, brains. And then I walk over and grab some water, brush my teeth, and I'm like, oh no, I've got to go to work in 10 minutes. I should probably throw some clothes on and go to work. And that's my morning routine.
So what's I'm curious your sleep schedule is like these days. Is it pretty late? Like you go to bed pretty late, wake up pretty late?
So I actually have to adjust to a brand new sleep schedule, Garrett, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm of course going to be working until 2 in the morning every night at my job,
Mm-hmm.
which means that probably the earliest I'll fall asleep every night is probably 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to get my 8 hours of sleep, Garrett. I'd like
Good.
to get at my eight
Good.
hours of sleep because otherwise Amanda will yell at me. But mostly because I like to sleep a little
She
bit.
sleeps for like 9 or 10 hours, and I can't understand that
That's true,
actually.
but she will accept 8 hours, Garrett. So
8 hours is like maximum for me.
okay,
Like that's the ideal. Like, okay, cool, 8 hours. That's pretty good. I normally get 5 to 7. That's like my average
right, right.
going
That's not
forward.
that bad either. But
Hmm.
yeah. So like, I will probably go to bed if I fall asleep around 3 every night. Then I'll probably be waking up at 11 or noon every day. But in fact, I can't sleep too late because otherwise I'll throw myself out of whack for this show on Saturday morning. So I got to like try and control myself a little bit because otherwise what normal Ryan would do back in the day is that I would just stay up until like if I work like that late, Garrett, I would just stay up till 5 or 6 in the morning every night and then wake up at 1 because I don't have to be at work until 4. Or sorry, until like 5:45. I'm sorry, is when I start work. It's 5:45. So, so yeah, it's just one of those things where I have to try and keep it in check a little bit. So I'll be sleeping. I'll be waking up at like 11 every day. Is what I'm going to be trying to do. So we'll see how
Cool.
well that goes.
Cool. Sounds good, man. All right. Well, morning routine. That's first thing. Second thing, 4th of July, Ryan. I know you had a great 4th of July over in Canada. Over here in the great United States of America, we celebrated with popping off fireworks, eating hot dogs and sausages, and drinking. That's basically what I did. The
That
whole
sounds like a
fourth.
fun day.
So
I will
yeah.
also mention, Garrett. I said this because I can't remember what we were doing on Saturday. Oh, I was watching I was watching Nintendo Drive, and I was mentioning this in chat. But like, there were a ton of fireworks on July 4th here for some reason. That I
Interesting.
in the like 12 years I've lived in Toronto, I've never lived in an area where there were lots of fireworks for July 4th. Always on Canada Day, of course, because Canada Day also happened this week, which is kind of be the theme of our show this week. But there were so many fireworks, Garrett, on July 4th. I'm just like, what is going on here? Where am I? Where am I living? I don't understand.
It's same thing over here. It's like fireworks a week before and a week after 4th of July. They just have leftover fireworks, and just people are just popping off everywhere. It was actually pretty nice because we have a rooftop in our apartment complex, so we just saw, and then you can see like, on the Oakland and Berkeley side up on the hills you can see all the fireworks there, but also you can see the fireworks across the Bay Bridge
Okay.
into San Francisco. So
Actually,
pretty
you know what?
nice.
That's probably the reason why I actually saw fireworks this year was because I live on the 29th floor of my building. So I can see pretty far, or likewise the noise travel is pretty far pretty far away. So if there are fireworks, I can definitely hear them a lot better than usual because I'm so high.
Yeah. Speaking of 4th of July in America, we're just burning and crashing this year here in the U.S. So, stay tuned for November.
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
are gonna
Stay
shape up.
tuned. That'll be
Uh-huh.
around the time we're going to be at Extra Life this year. Is when
That's
the
true.
election's happening. So
That's true. It's gonna be hardcore. Third thing, I think it's official. I know which console I'm gonna choose to play Final Fantasy VII OG.
oh,
I did some investigation. I have it on Steam. I have it on Switch. I think I have it on PS4 as well.
okay.
But when I was playing it on Steam Deck, I noticed it's a community layout. First off, on the controls, which isn't bad, but it's not like intuitive as much. But also, there's no fast forward.
What on PC?
On PC, you have to mod it in order to, because the Final
Oh, I
Fantasy
remember why. Because they did a release before the re-release.
Exactly.
That was the IDOS version, the IDOS port, which is probably still what's on PC.
Yes, they came out like years before the re-release.
And also, fun fact about that version, Garrett. When you originally got it, you couldn't remap the controls in the original version. So you actually had to control the movement of your character using the number pad on your keyboard. There were no gamepad options.
My goodness.
So you'd use 4, 8, 6, and 2 to move your character around on your number pad.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna be playing it on Switch,
Nice.
officially. I was a good ways in on Switch before, but I'm gonna restart it just to,
Yeah.
it's been a while. I need to refresh my memory. I got that fast forward and the invincibility if I really need it. I like the fast forward, but the invincibility is like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil my experience with
Yeah.
the game. So
No, and the fast forward I think is good for like certain encounters, like the if you have to grind some stuff, or there's you've probably done this area before, but like when you had to go catch the chocobo for the first time,
Yeah.
it has you fight like in a bunch of different battles until the chocobo appears. So it's just faster to just do that with fast forward as an example.
so there you go. That's my 3 things, Ryan.
Nice. I'm so excited for you to finally start it, guys, so we can finally, talk about it down the road.
I've been diving deep more into Trials of Mana, so Ryan,
Okay.
we may be able to do a Trials of Mana episode.
That's
before
good. I like that game too.
Final Fantasy VII OG. So
Yeah.
there you
Everyone's all excited about the new Mana game this year. You're over here playing Trials of Mana, Garrett. I love it.
go. Yeah, the Visions of Mana or whatever that comes up pretty soon. I
It
think,
does.
right?
It comes out next month.
Okay. I think they'll line up pretty nicely, doing a Trials of Mana episode and then
Yeah.
got Visions of Mana right there.
Exactly. Excited. Well, Garrett, we should probably clear the dungeon so we can get to the raid boss as quickly as possible. Get these mobs out of the way here. So, folks at home, if you want to support this show, there's a number of amazing ways you can do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right now, over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, or if you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to poke that like button, kick that subscribe button, and let us know in the comments below what you think. How did you celebrate your 4th of July or Canada Day or your Thursday or Monday? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget to of course, rate us if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or just hitting that subscribe button definitely helps the show get discovered. And also, again, huge shout out to all the new people that have been coming in via the audio feeds. I see you coming in here. So shout out to y'all. Also, if you want one big podcast feed with the entire Carpool Gaming Cinematic Universe on it, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming, just like Kia Avoided, who joined at the gold member tier, Josh Coltier, who joined at the exclusive tier, Sakura Sky, who joined at the exclusive tier, and Stingray X, who upgraded, who was on the kind of like the no ads the first post tier to now the exclusive tier. So shout out to all y'all over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming who upgraded or joined for the first time. So thank you for that. Also, we have our website, carpoolgaming.com, where you can get an RPG Cave t-shirt or other t-shirts, including our Summer Game Fest merch, which has been extended. It's actually still on the store. Yes, I think it's going until later this month. I don't have an exact date, but soon, it'll be coming off the store. So y'all will want to grab that merch now if you'd like it. So there you go. Also, I don't do this often, and I don't have this on the document, so I'm surprising Garrett with this. But tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern time, if you're watching the show live and not listening on the audio feeds later, I will be doing a Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/carpoolgaming live, where I will be doing a brand new tournament bracket, Garrett, because Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail is done, which we'll talk about in a second. And I will be picking the next game to play, or next 2 games to play, because I have 2 tournament brackets. So you, the people, will get to decide what I play next. So if you want to decide my fate, Garrett, or anyone else out there, come tune in to the live stream tonight.
Please don't pick a licensed movie video game.
So fun fact, Garrett.
Oh gosh.
No, so what I just decided to do this time, because licensed games always win these tournament brackets, because people just pick them. So I decided, Garrett, to do a bracket of games that I would be beating for the first time with no licensed games in it. And then a tournament bracket that's only licensed games.
Interesting. Okay.
So that way, people will get their licensed game fill with me, but only within its own bracket.
Okay. You isolated the issue, the
Yes,
problem here.
Exactly. Well, I mean, not only that, but I kind of gave the people what they wanted with this.
Then that's true.
Of course, some of the games, Garrett, to give you a little sampling of what's on the licensed game bracket. Sure. Aeon Flux on the original Xbox. based off the movie Aeon Flux, of course, not the cartoon show. Charlie's Angels for the Nintendo GameCube. Jaws on the NES. Wanted Weapons of Fate based off the hit movie Wanted. And some other stuff like Jaws Unleashed, where you play as Jaws. So yes, there's 2 Jaws games on there. Alias, based off the hit TV show with Jennifer Gardner. It's gonna be a good list.
And you have all these games.
I have all of these games. Yeah,
it's rough.
it's not that rough. Whereas some of the games, Garrett, on the first time bracket that I'd be playing for the first time include The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, because I've never finished that game. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Mega Man 5 on Game Boy, Sea of Stars, Silent Hill 4 The Room,
Ryan,
Shining Force CD, which I have never finished.
Okay.
Things like that. So yes,
Ryan, you killed me with the first 2 games you just mentioned. I would think of all the games that you would play, those are the 2. So Castlevania and Legend of Zelda.
So I'm gonna say I've played those games before, but I've always gotten like an hour or 2 into them and stopped and never gone any further.
Okay.
But whereas this would be me committing to actually sitting down and playing them to the end.
Finishing it.
And finishing them, yes.
You gotta finish A Link to the Past.
Because especially, Garrett, with Link to the Past, like, I didn't grow up with top-down Zelda. The only Zelda I grew up with was Zelda 2. So, as a result, when I played those games when I was older, I just didn't really get into them in the same way.
Did you play the 3DS one?
Link Between Worlds? No,
Yeah.
I have not played that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds like...
Because I have that game, but I haven't played it yet.
It's a good one. I would say Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds are the 2D Zelda games.
And I will also mention that I did put up a little picture at the beginning of the year, Garrett, of all the games that I plan on beating this year for the first time. And Link to the Past is on that list. So even if it doesn't win the tournament bracket tonight, it will happen at some point. It's just... will it get picked tonight for my next game, or will it get kicked down the can to sometime later this year?
Question is, where are you gonna play it?
I'm gonna play it on the Super Nintendo.
Cool, you have it.
I have my cartridge on my OG my childhood Super Nintendo.
Cool.
That's how I'm gonna play it.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. Oh god, let's cook the books and make sure it wins tonight. Well, I don't know, Seth. I mean, there's only one way. There's only one way to do that, of course, is to show up tonight for the live stream, twitch.tv/carpoolgaming live. So there you go. Well, Garrett, there's a little side quest over there. I see a little quest mark.
We gotta go to the...
I gotta walk over there real quick because, of course, we got an RPG side quest that I want to talk about quickly this week because we got a big topic this week. Of course, Final Fantasy 14 Dodge Trail came out last week. Garrett, I don't know if you knew about this.
I may have heard of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I only see like this guy just announcing he's streaming it for 20
7
hours
days.
a day. Yeah, 7 days. Yeah, that was nonstop. But dedication, man. That was super cool.
Yes. Yes. So of course, first of all, shout out to everyone who came out to watch the live streams with me. It was actually really special experience being able to play through one of my favorite games on stream for everyone else and having, the community involved and just hanging out. Cause I know a lot of people like either would come in and shine about the story and then kind of, go do their own thing. But a lot of people were just lurking in the chat, Garrett. But I had so much fun playing through the campaign, especially with like some days I was just like, well, I don't want to stop. So I'm just going to play for 9 or 10 hours, even though I only plan on playing for 8 on some of these days. So I beat the whole MSQ for Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail on stream, including rolling credits and everything like that, including the end game dungeons as well.
Cool.
Didn't do the EX raids on Twitch. I feel like those would have taken like a 4 or 6 hour streams, and I was like, I'm kind of good at for Final Fantasy 14 streams for a little while. I've only done like 40 hours of Final Fantasy 14 streams this week. Probably don't need to do anymore.
Well, I'm sure there's like other people that their whole like hobby or life is streaming Final Fantasy 14.
There is.
I see that with Elder Scrolls Online as well. Like they just go into the raids, and then you get into these parties that are like 20 or 30 people.
Yep.
And one of them's the main person.
Yeah.
That just tells everyone what to do.
Yeah.
To go through the raids. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of those with 14 as well. So yeah. That was a really special experience. Now, I know there's a lot of discourse in the community, but I'm just going to go and give my just initial thoughts because I do have I do have a review planned for this week for Dawn Trail to kind of give my full thoughts about the game. But first impressions and first glance, I actually really loved the story. I know a lot of people in the community didn't love the idea that your main character is not really the main character, that you're kind of on a journey with someone else and they're kind of the main characters of the story. But I actually didn't mind that because the storytelling was so good. And it was so different from what we usually get from 14, where it was instead of it being like one big world-ending threat that's there to try and, stop, like destroy the world or something like that. You're just going around, you're learning other people's culture, you're eating tacos, and you're just having it was just like a really fun story. And of course, there is more of that. There's more to it because there is a greater conflict that happens towards the end of the campaign. But I just really, really enjoyed just the writing that was on display, and just where you go, because as well, it was cool to kind of explore this new continent that was inspired by Latin America. So there's all these people that you get to go hang out with and just learn about their culture and stuff like that. It was a really cool experience. So
you painted the mess out of those enemies.
I sure did, because I played as the one of the new jobs, the Pictomancer. Which is all about killing people with paint and looking like a Splatoon character. Which, yes, because I would literally be all right, I'm going to paint a picture of fire, and then suddenly it explodes in their face, but it's paint instead of actual fire. So,
cool.
Yes. Oh, that was so fun. So yeah, look out for my review coming sometime, hopefully this week. But
yeah, cool. And it's also it's on Xbox, right? The Dawn Trail is on Xbox, so
it's on everything.
It's on everything.
In fact, there was a problem with the Xbox version at launch where the game was constantly freezing when you would leave zones. Because Bowser talked about this on Xbox Drive because she was playing on Xbox and had to switch to PlayStation because, but they've patched it out. So I think, because I think Bowser was mentioning she went back to the Xbox version last night and she was having no problems with it. So
cool.
It sounds like that's been fixed, which has been nice. Also, the server queue times were actually really good this time because that's one of the things you run into with a lot of live service games, Garrett, is that, when you play them at launch, you're expecting nothing to work. And on some of the busier servers, you were basically sitting in queue for about an hour just to get into the game at launch. Whereas for us, we were just in 30 seconds because we played on we played on a lower population server. So that really helped. So I had no problems. It was actually for me, especially playing on PlayStation and playing on a low population server, Garrett, for me, it was the smoothest online game launch I've ever seen in my entire life.
Right. If you played on PC, more popular, probably longer waiting times, most likely.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I'm going to mention another online game I played because I do want to mention this real quick. The First Descendant. I'll talk about this on PlayStation Drive more, but RPG fans, this is one worth paying attention to. It's a free-to-play game.
And it's on
PC
out
now.
And PS4?
Yeah, PS5 and PC. It's a free-to-play game, but it's very close to something like Destiny in a lot of ways. But I don't know. I feel I like just how streamlined it is, where it just feels because Destiny is caught up in a bunch of different old systems because they haven't really done a refresh of Destiny since Destiny 2 came out. Whereas this feels like it's kind of learned a lot of the lessons from Destiny, but it's done some interesting things. So I've actually been playing that now that now that it just released on Friday, and there's been kind of some downtime with Dawn Trail because I kind of need a little bit of a break from it, which is the reason we're doing the tournament bracket tonight. But the First Descendant is actually a pretty cool game. Also, Zenless Zone Zero is actually pretty cool too. The new game from Mihohoverse as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've heard of those too. I just wasn't paying attention to them.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 really cool free-to-play RPGs that both came out this week that both are pretty cool and are worth looking at. I'll talk about it more again on PlayStation Drive tomorrow night, though. But I just wanted to shout that out here. But anyways, Garrett, it is now time to read from the sacred text, which honestly, this might be one of the long, the furthest into the show that we've done the main topic here. We're 25 minutes in. But let's get into this. Of course, I wanted to, celebrate Canada Day and the 4th of July simultaneously coming together, Garrett, of course, because I represent Canada and you represent the United States here.
Good old America.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about our favorite or the best Canadian and American made role playing games. In fact, this is something we haven't really gotten to talk about too often because a lot of times, Garrett, we focus so much on Japanese role playing games on the show because that's just where the majority of RPGs come from. But there's a lot of good Western role playing games that are made both in Canada and the United States, and I wanted us to highlight them today.
Cool. Sounds good.
So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to kind of go back and forth and talking about, some of our different companies, some of the different companies that are in Canada and the United States, and we'll talk about some of the games that are there. So
Cool.
Garrett, would you like to go first so I can grab a sip of water since I talked a lot?
Yeah. Go grab a sip of water. I know Final Fantasy 14 conversation got you all, your voice out of whack, but here you go. Okay, so American United States made RPGs. Actually, I had to do some research with this because I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Western RPG I like. I'm like, well, that's from Europe. That's from Canada. That's from Europe again. I had to be like really strategic. I'm like, oh man, there's some notable developers, of course, in the United States, but RPGs, it's just like, there's actually a select few.
Well, I was gonna say, like, Canada is kind of the same way, where it's just like, everyone knows like one of the big companies here, but then there's like a few smaller ones, and that's about it. Like, there's not a ton in Canada.
Well, I try to just pick a game from a series. I'm not trying to pick multiple games from within the same developer. But
of course.
Anyways, I feel like this game, I had it come out strong. This is probably the most American, most patriotic game I've ever played. Well, in terms of RPG.
Of course.
There's others that's very American. And that is Fallout 4.
Fallout 4, not Fallout 3 or New Vegas.
Well, here's the thing. I had a choice between 3, New Vegas, and 4. But Fallout 4 is probably the most American historical influenced area of an RPG in the Fallout series, because you got Boston, you got the trail there. It's very historical. You got all the architecture and buildings over there. But anyways, I chose Fallout 4. Well, because it's a series of reasons there. It's mainly because because it's based in Boston, one of the most oldest towns in the U.S. But also I think it's more accessible than 3 in New Vegas in terms of just art. It's made in 2015 or released in 2015, so the mechanics are a little bit better. It's a little bit more smoother. I would say the shooting's a lot better, in Fallout 4 versus the other two. And then there's just a lot of just American influence in that game, especially when you get into the Commonwealth and you get into Boston. You can see the buildings and the architecture. It's very, 1800s influenced over there. You got the trail too with and you can listen to the radio, just like the tour in Boston, the historical trail over there. So yeah, I just want to swing it out. Fallout 4, the most American patriotic RPG made by Bethesda Studios. So
yeah, you're not wrong about that. I think you're right, because like New Vegas really isn't like a patriotic game. It's a look at look at Vegas, but it's not really like a patriotic game in the same way. And I mean, Fallout 3 is kind of patriotic because it takes place in the U.S. Capitol, but you're right, probably not in the same way, I guess, as 4.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, it's in DC, and you see all the little landmarks over there too. But I wouldn't say like, oh, I think of Fallout 3, I think of America. You know, you think of, oh, it's Fallout 3, it's the new RPG coming out during those days. That's pretty cool. But I would say Fallout 4, the Commonwealth, and it really heavily relied on the influence of Americana into that game for sure.
Although, Garrett, I will just point out, in Fallout 3, you get to fight super mutants in the White House. Like, how American is that right there?
That's pretty American. So, yeah. Anyways, Bethesda, based in Maryland, of course, they, have a lot of influence, American-made influence in Fallout 3 and 4. So I had to choose one or the other. basically on that one. So
That makes sense.
there you go.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like we have like Americana or games that even take place in America on the RPG side with games made in America. But like when I was doing my research for Canadian games, and this is kind of my transition over to my first submission, is that we just don't really have like RPGs that take place in Canada at all.
Not really.
No. The closest we got was actually Mass Effect 3, Garrett, because the capital of Earth. Because yes, the Earth was under like became one country in Mass Effect. The capital of Earth is in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Of course,
Canada.
it is.
So, because of course BioWare's a Canadian company, so they wanted to, of course, put the capital of the world in Vancouver, because of course they did. So that was the only thing. That was like the closest we got to like Canada in a role playing game based on my research. Of course, I could have missed something, but that's what I've noticed. Which of course I started off with the most obvious Canadian company, the company that people always think about when thinking about role-playing games in Canada. You know, hailing from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is the home of Sean Capri as well, is BioWare, of course. BioWare, easily the biggest role-playing game company in Canada, because that's all they make. A lot of these other companies I'm about to talk about, they also make other styles of games. They don't only make role-playing games. But BioWare is like the role-playing game company. In fact, like when you even look at North American role-playing games in general, they're probably one of the biggest. Even notwithstanding, you know, their two most recent releases that people didn't love, you know, with Anthem and with Mass Effect Andromeda. They still they're still revered as like one of the biggest role-playing game companies in the Western world. So still. So, in fact, Dragon Age, I know a lot of people are really excited about Dragon Age coming out very soon, coming out this year. So, we got that going for it.
Blows my mind. We'll see how that goes.
I still think that this could be like their big turnaround game, though. Like, regardless of when it comes out, even if it gets delayed till next year, I still have the feeling in my gut like this is going to be kind of their way to turn things around.
Good. Like, I can see it being a solid 8.
Yeah.
Like a great game.
But that's what they need at this point.
That's
like,
what they need. Yeah.
Anthem was a 5 out of 10, and then Mass Effect Andromeda had a very mixed reception. Although I know a lot of people have been going back to that game and been enjoying it a lot more. Now that a lot of the bugs and glitches.
I hear there's a lot more hate to that game than what to give its credit for. But I guess, as you said, it could be a bug thing in the beginning.
I mean, it was because like people's faces were just disappearing. As an example, during conversations, or just weird stuff would happen. For me, I just didn't really love the story, especially towards the end in Mass Effect Andromeda. So for me, that was the problem. It's never the glitch faces stuff. In fact, my old co-host Drew McMillan and I, on our old podcast Game Moose, we did an entire spoiler cast on Mass Effect Andromeda, and we were just like, we had a lot of good things to say about it, but it was mostly the back half of the story that kind of killed it for us. But anyways, enough about Mass Effect Andromeda. I will, of course, do the same that you did and kind of highlight one game, because, of course, BioWare has like a bajillion different franchises. We got KOTOR, we got Jade Empire, we got Mass Effect, we got Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Like, they made a bunch of stuff. Of course, I've talked about Mass Effect, and I've talked about Dragon Age, and I've talked about Jade Empire a whole bunch on the show. So I'm going to highlight one of my all-time favorite games, which is Knights of the Old Republic from BioWare on the original Xbox. Of course, you know, you play as either a Jedi or a Dark Jedi, and you're going around, recruiting different party members to go around the galaxy. And of course, you can be as good or as evil as you want to. Like for me, of course, there was this woman who lost her husband in a hunting accident, and she's like, "Oh, I need to go sell this big like hunter's trophy." But the only place I can go do it is the Hunters Guild, and you have a pass to get in there. Could you go sell it for me and give me the funds? So instead, I use the Force, Garrett, to persuade her to just give me the Hunter's Trophy herself, and then I get to go sell it for myself. And then she's like, please, I need could you go sell it for me? I need some money. So then I just use the Force again to take the rest of her money that she had left all of her possessions, and then just leave her with nothing.
Ryan.
So,
That sounds so chaotic. I can't believe a game just lets you do that.
I mean, that's far from the worst thing you do in that game, Garrett. If you want to
You
play
just
evil.
steal all the poor woman's money, though.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I mean, look, she wasn't going to use it for anything. Whereas I need to stop, of course, the biggest dark Jedi in the galaxy. I need the funds, Garrett. Everyone's got to help out with stopping Darth Malak. You know,
Sure. Sounds good.
even Yarden in chat, she's just like, Jesus, right?
I know, it's full chaos. I hear Sean Capri loves this game.
Yes, he loved it so much that he does not like that game very much. But it was also one of those things where it's like, you know, when you talked about Fallout 4, Garrett, you know, like I for one will recognize that this game mechanically has not aged super well. The writing though is still top notch. It's still one of the best written role playing games ever, in my opinion. But the mechanics definitely, and even the combat are definitely dated, because the combat is very similar to a CRPG like Baldur's Gate, where you're, or actually I would say it's even maybe closer to something like Xenoblade, if I'm being honest, where your characters auto attack and then you use different abilities like when they're off
I don't know
cooldowns,
why
like
Sean hates it. I thought he loved Xenoblade, so.
Oh no, I think he hates it because there's other mechanic things in it that he didn't really enjoy. But the writing is top notch. It's honestly, again, one of the best written games. It's definitely the best written BioWare game, in my opinion. But it's also like one of the best Star Wars games ever as well, because it again was just a really good original story in the Star Wars universe, that again told that had some really interesting things to say. And there's also one moment in particular that everyone always talks about, and that moment will actually always live on my brain, in my mindscape. It's like one of the best video game moments ever.
Ryan, you know what? I can't believe I skipped this one when I was like that age. That sounds like a Garrett moment. Like I was obsessed with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was the newbie. I was the, you know, prequel child baby growing up with Darth Maul in the movie theater or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed this.
Yeah. I was so into Star Wars video games at the time, because like the movies didn't really do it for me, but video games, Star Wars video games, like always got my interest. So this was the game that actually got me to buy my original Xbox was Knights of the Old Republic.
It came out 2001 or 2, something like that. Like
2003.
3. I was playing the movie-based games.
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah, because Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, came out around then.
Yeah, I played that on Xbox 360 or something like that. That was early Xbox 360. And then I played the Revenge of the Sith on DS as well.
Okay. So Revenge of the Sith, just so you know, Garrett, didn't come out on 360. It came out on an original Xbox.
Oh, really? Okay.
But it was available as like a backwards compatible game on Xbox 360. So you might have played it that way. Because you could put with the backwards compatible discs, you could put them in the 360 and play them.
Yeah, I remember there was a list too. Yeah. A backwards compatible Xbox.
In fact, there's actually certain games that are on the 360 backwards compatible list that didn't actually make it to the actual backwards compatible list on Xbox Series. So, like, because it plays like 200 original Xbox games, but there's only 20 of them that play on Series X.
Right. So, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, Knights of the Republic, awesome game. And I love it. I know it's harder to go back to now, but I had to give it its highlight, because again, I've barely been able to talk about it on the show. And also, its sequel, Knights of the Republic 2, The Sith Lords, made by Obsidian, it's also a very good game too. So
that's why you're
out there. Yeah. But Garrett, what about you? What's your next one?
Number 2, probably the next big RPG series that's American made by Blizzard, of course. I'm talking about Diablo series.
Oh, Diablo.
Now, I don't have too much experience with Diablo. I still got to go and play Diablo 4. Okay. It's on Game Pass. It's installed. It's on my hard drive, ready to go. I played a little bit of Diablo 2. Now, I would say Diablo 2, out of all of them, is probably the most impactful. I hear that's the most popular one, especially during that time.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, of the series, it's probably my favorite, even though I do think mechanically 3 is a much better game, or a much more approachable game, and one that I just enjoyed playing more. But 2, I really, really enjoyed, especially the story was super cool.
I have it on Switch, and it's actually okay on Switch. is pretty classic Diablo, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna highlight Diablo 3 because that was the first one I played. I got Reaper of Souls. I think it was back in 2014 or 15, something like that, on the PS4. And
Yeah, it was around then because I think the expansion came out in 2014 on PC and then it came later to PS4. So 2015, I think.
yeah, and so I played the whole thing in like 2 days. I played from the beginning of the campaign all the way to the end.
Yeah.
I was a fighting monk or something like that.
Well, you were a monk fighting.
Yeah.
You're a monk.
Okay,
You
sure.
punch people in the face with your fists.
Yes, it was wonderful. Yeah, and I was just kind of obsessed with it. Diablo series is one of those games that you can get into in terms of campaign or whatever. But for me, it was a podcast game where
Yeah.
I literally just hooked up headphones. Here's a podcast or a YouTube video or whatever, and I just did whatever with an action RPG. So yeah, it was pretty cool, pretty good experience. So.
Yeah, before I found like Final Fantasy 14, Garrett, like Diablo 3 was kind of my podcast game too. Where I was mostly playing it, listening to Podcast Beyond or Game Scoop or all kinds of like random podcasts while playing it and just having a blast with it. I played as the Witch Doctor, by the way, was my
Nice.
class of choice for Diablo 3. Although eventually when the Crusader came out, that was the one I really played as.
Nice. I played all the way through. I'm like on PS4. I'm like, how bad's the platinum? Like, and I looked at the trophies. I'm like, oh, you got to beat the game in like every class or something like that. So
Oh, it's more to it than that, Garrett. In
Yeah,
fact,
there's
that's
like
actually
a
the easiest
game.
part of the trophies. Because guess who has the platinum for that game?
oh my gosh,
This
you have
guy.
the platinum.
That was actually my very first platinum. Was Diablo 4.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty hard platinum. So.
Yes,
Good for
it
you.
was, but it wasn't even hard. It was just time consuming because the thing that actually took the longest was doing the end game bounties for the platinum, which took like forever. Like I think I finally clocked in at like 250 hours for me to platinum it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was playing it so much, I was enjoying it so much, Garrett, that I was like, I'm doing this. So
Yeah, it's one of those things that, as you said, you can, have a show on or a YouTube video while you do this. So it's kind of a mindless grind, but at the same time, super fun game. And I would say the lore is super cool, super intuitive. I like getting immersed in those characters sometimes too, and the builds on the characters themselves is pretty cool. High replay value on Diablo games. So there you go. I recommend Diablo 3 a lot. I know Diablo 4 is the most up-to-date one. I know the expansion's about to come out for that one, but I just haven't heard too I hear it's great, but like it really just came and passed. Like
I was gonna say a lot of people fell off Diablo 4 very quickly. Like there are people that have been grinding that end game for Diablo 4 ever since it came out, but those people in my friend circle are fewer and far between than they ever were for Diablo 3 even. Or even Diablo 2. I just feel like that same energy isn't there. Maybe with this expansion, I think it'll help. But because after I finished the campaign, I just stopped playing. Like that was very different from Diablo 3, where I was like, all right, now I want to finish it with this class, and then now I want to do all the end game stuff like that. There was a whole bunch of stuff in Diablo 3 that I wanted to do afterwards. But Adam David chimes in and says, I've actually just recently got back into Diablo 4.
Yeah, the expansion's about to come out, so I'm sure a lot of people are going back into it as well. So
I know friend of the show, Steve Vegvari, of course, hailing from also here from Toronto. He's been mentioning to me that he's been playing a lot, especially with there were some new loot changes that came out. Because they almost did kind of the loot 2.0 thing that they did for Diablo 3 before Reaper of Souls came out to then really improve the loot aspect of it, which he's told me has really helped with a lot of the end game stuff or just playing it beyond just the main campaign. So
cool.
I think there's a lot of reasons to go back to it again. With that expansion, when it comes out, Garrett, I'm going to give it another chance later this year. But
yeah, I need to play it. It's on Game Pass, so it's like ready to go for me once once I'm done with Hogwarts Legacy. That's my other main game.
I mean, the expansion won't be on Game Pass, as far as I know.
No, it won't. Yeah.
The base game is, but and I have Diablo 4 on PlayStation, so I'll play it at some point. But
Cool.
anyways, moving on, Garrett.
Moving on.
We're gonna travel across the way to the province of Quebec, Garrett, because I wanted to highlight 3 Montreal studios.
Okay.
I've done some great role-playing games. So I'm not going to talk about these games in detail. In fact, a lot of these we've already talked about on the show already. So there's no need for me to go into them in depth. But I wanted to kind of do a quick highlight of Montreal as a city here, Garrett. Of course, first one, IDOS Montreal, which of course they're called something else now under Embracer, but I'm just going to call them by their OG name, IDOS Montreal, makers of the Deus Ex series, Garrett. I don't know if you've played these games, because I think this one, out of all these, we've never talked about on the show.
That's true.
But the Deus Ex series is kind of like this cyberpunk futuristic role-playing game, very similar to something like BioShock in a lot of ways, where it's kind of like an immersive first-person kind of game where you get a bunch of different powers and abilities. But Deus Ex goes much more in the RPG direction than something like BioShock does, where you have you get a ton of skill points and you put them into things like running and swimming and climbing and little like granular things like that, in addition to your other like Android cybernetic kind of abilities as well. But Deus Ex Human Revolution in particular is the one I wanted to highlight. Of course, it's probably the best one. That is the one that came out during the Xbox 360 PS3 generation.
That's right here.
And it was kind of like a reboot of the series, or it was basically a prequel, where you're kind of learning about Adam Jensen's kind of origins. Adam Jensen, of course, kind of the main character of the Deus Ex games. And that game was super cool. Like it was the most gold game I've seen in my entire life, where just forget the gold cartridge for Zelda. That whole game was gold, basically. Like that, like everything was like the gold color. Like when you look at like the neon purples and blues and something like Cyberpunk, just imagine all that neon is just gold colored instead of different colors. And you'll imagine the vision that is Deus Ex Human Revolution. And also got a really good sequel as well in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which was out on PlayStation 4. But
right.
Yeah, cool. I mean, of course, Ron, showing it at the perfect time to hear Ryan preach the greatness that is Human Revolution. Yes, that is a very good game, Ron, on Xbox 360. It's definitely a game worth going back to. The only downside, Garrett, was that the boss fights are terrible and make no use of your abilities at all. And in fact, you can totally hose yourself when it gets to the boss fights, because they outsource the boss fights to another company. So,
oh my goodness.
Another company designed the bosses for them, and they're all terrible. So, and again, if you don't put enough points into combat, because the game doesn't force you to put points into combat, you can kind of play the game like a stealth game if you wanted to, as an example, like a stealth RPG. But if you don't put enough points in there, you'll get destroyed by the bosses and you'll basically have to start over.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's not great. But then also traveling in Montreal as well, we got Sabotage Studios. Of course, Sea of Stars. Got to at least give Sea of Stars a mention.
A shout out.
One of the best, role-playing games of last year. I didn't play it, but Garrett, you played Sea of Stars.
I did. It's good. I wasn't truly amazed by it, but as a straightforward, I would say like pixel, like 2D indie RPG, it's very solid. Of course, a lot of influence from Chrono Trigger, as well as Super Mario RPG in terms of mechanics. It's not too hard, and it's very straightforward. It's very prescribed, like, okay, you're going to this next battle, you're good. You're not getting like overwhelmed by anything. There's not a lot of freedom going on. It's just kind of a linear path, which is great. And the art style is fantastic. So yeah, I would highly recommend, if you're into Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG at all, in those type of 2D pixelated games, go through Sea of Stars, because yeah, I like
That's one of the games on the tournament bracket tonight is Sea of Stars, Garrett, because I haven't played it.
Cool. But Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past better win, or else I'm gonna rip my hair off.
Oh jeez. All right. I don't want Garrett to be disappointed and wave his finger at me. I mean, it can't be, because I don't know if you remember this, Garrett, but Link to the Past was also on my last tournament bracket, and it got destroyed by 24 the game.
This is
because people let that happen. People let that happen, Garrett.
People are chaos. That's what they are.
Exactly. Oh my God. But yeah, so of course, Sea of Stars is great. And then the last one I wanted to quickly highlight, because again, we talked about these games a whole bunch on the show. Ubisoft Montreal. They made, of course, Child of Light, which Garrett's talked about a whole bunch on the show.
So good.
But also one of my favorite action RPGs of the last generation, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which of course you wouldn't think of Assassin's Creed as an RPG franchise, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey was definitely a BioWare style role-playing game. And it was definitely a role-playing game in general. I mean, you're leveling your classes, you've got different stats and gear and stuff. You're filling your skill trees. It's very much a traditional role-playing game in the BioWare sense. So, gotta give a shout out to both of those as well. Both great games. And again, we've talked about them a lot on the show before. But there you go, Garrett. That's Montreal. Lots of great studios in Montreal. But those three in particular are some good studios, and hopefully, and they don't really make RPGs all the time too, because like IDOS Montreal did like the Guardians of the Galaxy game. That was their last game. They're now helping out with one of the games at Microsoft.
Perfect Dark Zero.
No, they're not helping out with Perfect Dark. Oh, we found out they're helping out with Fable.
Fable. Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
So we got that, and then because they were even on the title card as well. We learned about that, and then Sabotage. We don't even know what their next game is going to be at this point.
Yeah, and you know, I would say don't do an RPG because their first one was
The Messenger.
The Messenger, and that I heard that was really, really good.
Yeah, it was. It was like a Metroidvania / Ninja Gaiden inspired game.
So I can totally see them going a completely different route on the third game. So.
And then Ubisoft Montreal, again, like they're still working on Assassin's Creed. In fact, we got Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out from them this year, which is going to be kind of the last of the Assassin's Creed role-playing games they were talking about, or at least for now. So I hope not, because actually I prefer those over the normal Assassin's Creed games because I like role-playing games. So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so, in fact, I think that's gonna be one of the best RPGs this year. So when it comes down to it, but there you go. That's my trek through Montreal. Garrett, round things out here. Give us your last one you want to highlight.
The last one I want to highlight. I got to go Obsidian on this one. And of course, we got to make fun of the Canadians over here. So I got to choose this game. Of course, South Park, The Stick of Truth.
Of course.
Developed by Obsidian. This is the funniest RPGs I've ever played in my life. I played it back in 2014. I specifically remember that on the Xbox 360. It's a turn-based role-playing game based in the South Park universe. And people don't know, South Park is based in Colorado, and they just make fun of every single trope there is in the United States. It is just hilarious. Every religion, every politician, they just make fun of everyone, and everyone's a target, basically, on this one, just to make fun of. And in this game, South Park Stick of Truth, they go through the whole series of, like, historically, like, all the different figures and people. You got Hanky, the Christmas poop, and all that sorts of stuff. So it's a very graphic RPG because you go through some levels. I'm like, ooh, okay, buddy. But you also head over to Canada as well.
One of the greatest zones in any role-playing game, of course.
Yeah, they went over to Canada. They got the little choppy two-faced things, people for Canadians. And
even just the design of it as well, like the design of the world when you're navigating it across Canada.
It's top-down 2D.
Yeah, it becomes like a 2D, like almost like an NES game at that point, which is so cool.
Becomes an NES game. They just make fun of Canada in general. It's like, why is it like that? It's like, we're just, a couple years back in development or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. So anyways, South Park Stick of Truth, one of the funniest, most enjoyable RPGs that make fun of Canadians ever. So there you go.
Nice. So, that's a great one, Garrett. I love Stick of Truth. I think that game is awesome. And even like someone like me who liked the first season of South Park, or the first season of South Park, and then never went back. Like I really, really enjoyed Stick of Truth a lot. Like that game's still really good. Fractured Butthole though, not as good, but
that's what I hear.
It was fun. But Stick of Truth, really, really good. And yes, you're right. Like Obsidian, of course, so many great games from Obsidian. But that's probably one of the best, and also one of the ones we just haven't really talked too much about on the show before as well.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Good pick. Last week, Garrett, to round things out, I'm going to travel. We're going to leave Quebec. We're going to come back to Toronto because that's where I live, Garrett. Because I live in Toronto, and of course, we got to represent Toronto with one of my favorite indie developers, Garrett. Drinkbox Studios, of course, based here in Toronto. And they've got two good role-playing games. One that I haven't played, that you really like, and one that I did play back on the Vita. Of course, we'll talk about Severed first. Severed,
Sure.
the first person role playing game on the PlayStation Vita. You know, a girl basically searching the underworld for her family, and you've got these severed limbs and stuff like that. Like, it's a really an interesting game. And again, like I've talked about it on the show before, Garrett, but I don't like first person role playing games traditionally. But this is one I got really into, and it was the only sad thing about it was just it was so short. But I loved, you know, the visual style. The combat was super fun. Like, this game was really solid.
This was probably one of the most unique indie RPGs I've ever played. And it's a dungeon crawler. It's first person dungeon crawler. You go through from space to space, and then once you get into combat, I'm sure they've done it with controls, but it's really all touchscreen where you slash.
It is only touchscreen. The game is on Switch now, Garrett. But the Switch version requires you to play it with the touchscreen only.
Really? I thought there was some controls too.
Nope.
Oh, really? Okay, wow. Yeah, I would recommend this on phones, really. Like, it is out on iPhone for sure. I don't know about Android, but it's a very good phone game because it's just all slashing on the screen. But you have to time yourself out because you got monsters on multiple like views, and so you have to time it out where you're blocking other enemies and other views, and you got to make sure you do that, but also attack when they're the most vulnerable. So
yeah, you got to watch your back and your front, which is very weird, but it was but once you get the hang of it, it's actually really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one for sure.
Yeah, you're like cutting off their limbs and stuff like that too, because that's kind of the whole the whole theme of the game. And then, of course, Garrett, Nobody Saves the World, which I know you loved from them as well.
Such a good game.
Yeah, I still need to play it at some point,
right?
Because 2 years ago.
No. Was it 2 years ago now?
I think it was 2 years ago. I will fact check us, but I'm pretty sure 20.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
because my game of the year was that year, and then it was Bravely Default. No, Octopath Traveler 2.
Octopath Traveler. It wasn't Various Day Life. We know that.
Oh, definitely not Various Day Life. But anyways, yeah, Nobody Saved the World. I would say it's very solid. Kind of a 2D. It's a beat 'em up RPG where you like kind of just go through around a map, a 2D map, with your little avatar, and this avatar can take on different classes. And then you can switch at any time you want in real time, and then it's a really cool mechanic for sure. So yeah, highly recommend it.
That's one I'm still gonna play at some point, Garrett. It's on the list to play at some point. It's not on the tournament bracket though. Didn't make the tournament bracket this time.
That's fine.
It was on the tournament bracket last time, and literally no one voted for it. So that's why I kicked it off for something else this time.
That's okay. Link to the Past is gonna win this one. I'll be there.
Is
to
it?
vote. Yeah.
Is it?
Well, I'm gonna vote every time.
You never know. Some people might vote for .hack infection over it instead.
My vote is worth 1,000 votes because I'm your co-host. That's how it works.
Oh,
right?
jeez. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you never know. Maybe people want me to play Police Nuts on the Sega Saturn, which is also on there. And I gotta play Shining Force CD at some point, Gary. I need to make time for it at some point.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right, cool. Did you have any other games you wanted to highlight real quick before we move on to questions?
Sure. I got some other games that I would say they're, of course, there's a lot of RPGs American made, but I want to throw out some ones. Wasteland series, of course, by In Exile, based in post-apocalypse United States as well. Very cool. I would say isometric strategy RPG. With a lot of different choices like Fallout, very classic Fallout vibes for sure.
Maybe the original Fallout creators, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, definitely. Undertale.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, made by a single person and based in the United States and heavily influenced by, what was it? Earthbound. Yeah. Super cool game. The Outer Worlds I wanted to highlight out of Obsidian. So and of course Avowed coming out later this year. Love those RPGs. I like these, mid-sized focused RPGs a little bit more. And then of course Borderlands series by Gearbox over at my neck of the woods, my hometown in Dallas, Texas. So
nice.
Yeah. So there you go. That's one I want to highlight.
Nice. That's a good list, Gary. You had a lot of good games over there. Whereas Canada, the only other game I really wanted to highlight here, because I also did kind of the highlight package in the middle here, was representing my town where a lot of my family lived, but also where I lived for a long time, London, Ontario, Canada. Warframe. the live service
Oh, really?
role-playing game.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that game's pretty cool. Again, I haven't played Warframe in a very long time because I know it's
hear
been
it's
still
great.
going strong. People still love Warframe, but like Digital Extremes, of course, in London, Ontario, Canada. Really, really cool studio. They worked on a lot of great stuff over the years, including Unreal Tournament and BioShock 2 and a bunch of other stuff. But Warframe has been their big bread and butter basically since it came out, because it was one of like 5 or 6 games that launched with the PS4, and like people have not stopped playing it ever since, which is crazy to think about. Because
I hear he keeps getting updates. He keeps going strong. So good for them.
if only Knack, Garrett, if only Knack could have gotten that reception at the PS4 launch. It just didn't,
Well, they got a knack too, and that's about as
That's true.
Just gonna get out knack.
I was gonna say that's more than Killzone Shadowfall got, because that ended up, I guess, being the last Killzone game ever at this point.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Of course, they moved to Horizon, but yeah, it would be cool to see another Killzone game, because I love Killzone Shadowfall actually a lot.
Yeah. Now, Garrett, it's time to hear from the NPCs this week. Of course, the non-podcast characters. I'm actually going to skip to the bottom of this document to the second question, Garrett. Even though we got the other one first, this kind of ties into actually we'll round out the conversation nicely. This comes to us from Skycatcher Reflection, who says, what is your favorite American or Canadian indie RPG studio? Have either of you played any Zeboyd developed games? I had a fun time with This Way Madness Lies. So cool. We, of course, just rounded out with some of our favorite indie games, indie studios. Of course, in Canada, there's I'm spoiled for choice, but again, like 3 of the studios I talked about here are indie studios, with Sabotage, Drinkbox, and Digital Extremes. For me, it'd probably have to be Drinkbox if I'm going to pick a favorite, because they're the only ones that are consistently making role playing games of the 3 of them. So because it's hard to call Sabotage an RPG studio when they made one role playing game, and same with Digital Extremes. Other than Warframe, they really don't make other role playing games either. So for me, I'm gonna say Drinkbox is probably my favorite. But what about you?
I mean, I would probably do the same thing. And actually, I was looking into Zeboyd. I guess they are based in California, but I know one of their developers is in Singapore or something like that. Okay. That was interesting. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Drinkbox Studios probably, I really enjoyed Severed and Nobody Saves the World. And Guacamelee was pretty good. Not an RPG. It's more Metroidvania.
No, all their games have been good. That's what I mean. Like that's why that's why I'm coming and picking them, because they're spoiled for choice. And I mean, Sabotage is like a close second, provided they make more role playing games. Because again, Sea of Stars was good, but also The Messenger was also a banger too. Like there's like they put out nothing but quality too. So it's just, but it takes forever for their games to come out, which is why they have two games at this point. So that's why it's tough to pick one. As far as American studios, American indie RPG studios, I mean, the one that comes to mind, actually, even if you didn't put it in the question, with Skycatcher, was Zeboyd. Because I love Cosmic Star Heroine, and I've actually played Cthulhu Saves Christmas, and I thought that game was fun too. They also did the Penny Arcade role-playing games back on the Xbox 360, and I thought those were fun as well. But I haven't played This Way Madness Lies. It's been on my list forever. It's on the tournament bracket for tonight as well, so maybe it wins over Link to the Past. Who knows? Then maybe I'll play it.
That would be madness. That would be absolutely crazy.
Well, has madness in the title, Garrett.
Yeah, apparently. So, Zeboyd, I think I only played Cosmic Star Heroine, and I didn't even finish it. I think I just got distracted. Man, indie US-based RPG studios. I actually don't know if I have any. What was the one that made that? Oh gosh, what's it called? It's a more recent, like 2D pixelated RPG that I played in December 2 years ago.
Chained Echoes?
Chained Echoes, that's the one. Yeah. Are they based in US?
I would have to look. You keep talking about it.
Well, Chained Echoes is a really good RPG. I would say, it's turn-based and it's party-based, very similar to Final Fantasy games, but it has a few more mechanics and action-based combat surrounding it.
I have an answer, Garrett.
You have an answer.
It is not an American roleplay game. It is made by one dude. His name is Matthias.
Matthias Linde.
And he lives in Germany.
Of course he is. Okay.
So
Well,
it's the only German role playing game I can think of.
that's true. So there you go. Instead of US, there's a German role playing game for you. No, do you know any other US based
Indie RPG studios?
Yeah, indie RPG studios. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Because that's the thing, they've all been snatched up. Because like at one point, like Gearbox was an independent studio for the longest time.
They were
until they were acquired by Embracer and then acquired by 2K. Like they were like the biggest indie studio. Toby Fox I think is actually a good one as well because Toby Fox, of course, the Undertale creator, an American independent game developer. But he also like it's been a long time since we had, because he's still working on Deltarune, which is still not even really come out in full yet at this point.
Taking a sweet time.
Yeah, because I think like he's probably like the most obvious choice besides the Z-Boyd games. I think.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. It's really slim pickings on the indie RPG studio space, especially in the US.
Or I should say, there's a lot of indie RPGs I think on Steam, for example, Garrett, and neither of us are just in that scene, and I think that plays into it a little bit too. Where for the most part, you and I are mostly console players. I mean, you do dabble in PC, but you're not like primarily a PC person scouring the Steam charts for random indie stuff.
Right. I'm more into Japanese role playing games on Steam as well.
Exactly.
Than like Western or indie based RPGs.
Yeah. Exactly. And honestly, if I played indie games on PC, I'd probably be in the same boat. So I hear you. I mean, Larian Studios, even them, like they're not even in North America, but they're one of the biggest indie studios around nowadays because of Baldur's Gate. So.
Yeah, you got CD Projekt Red as well.
Yep. They're one of the biggest independent studios too. But in Germany, or not in Germany, in where are they from? Like Poland, I think.
Paullin, CD Projekt Red. Yeah.
Yeah. Ron says In Exile would have been my pick until Microsoft picked them. Like that's the thing, yeah, because Microsoft bought a whole bunch of them too. So
we picked all the RPG studios up. It's crazy. They got everyone.
Yeah, they have the stranglehold on Western role playing games at this point. We talked about this on the show where they're like easily probably the biggest U.S. company for role playing games at this point.
Yeah.
They are the U.S. version of Square Enix at this point, which is weird to say, but anyways, last question of the show, and this is more of a comment, less of a question, but this talks about things we've talked about before. The Good Sir, who says, as someone who grew up playing hockey and spent plenty of months/years in Canada, I love it and wish I could live there. So I'll be focusing on my favorite Canadian role-playing games, as I'm sure you'll get a fair amount of AA and AAA love for this question. I'll once again be focusing on my beloved indies. Not too many unknown ones here, though. Nobody Saves the World, Sea of Stars, and In Stars in Time. Also, shout out to a game I've heard nothing but good things about, but personally have not picked up yet, Tunic. Now, Tunic's not really a role-playing game. Tunic is a Legend of Zelda kind of clone. I had to look up this other one, In Stars in Time, because I didn't know about this game at all. And it's actually a game that came out last year, Garrett.
Okay.
But it looks interesting. It's kind of this like black and white kind of turn-based role-playing game. It almost kind of reminds me of Mother Earthbound in a way, but it doesn't have like the active battle system kind of like
it's overwhelmingly positive on Steam, which is a rare feat for sure. Yeah. So that's cool. They also made Slay the Princess. Is that?
Yeah.
Let's see.
I know nothing about
I'm looking into it.
Well, while you look into it, I was going to say, number one, this had a Metacritic score of 85% last year as well, Garrett. So it would have been good for Fantasy Critic. But there is also a console version. It's also out on Switch and PS4 and PS5 as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I have to check this out. It looks good, and overwhelmingly positive is always super cool to see with these smaller RPGs. So, yeah.
I was going to say, like, I totally didn't even think about that game came out last year, and I think there were just so many games last year, Garrett, that we just...
it came out late last year. So, cool.
And then actually, Ron in the chat actually chimes in and says, what about Airship Syndicate? I believe they're U.S. based. It looks like they are. They are in Austin, Texas, Garrett. So in Texas. And if you haven't heard of their games, they made the League of Legends role playing game, The Ruined King, which I actually really liked. I talked about that on the show before. They also did Darksiders Genesis, which was like the action RPG Darksiders game,
and Battle Chasers.
Yeah,
cool. Wow, that's a good get. I didn't see that coming. So yeah, based in Austin.
Yep.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, and they're working on a new game called Wayfinder, which is in early access right now.
Cool.
Which again, I didn't even know about this game. So thank you, Ron, for letting us know about this, because I'm gonna have to go look into this a little bit more after the show's over. But anyways, Garrett, I think that's gonna do it for tonight's episode of the RPG Cave. But before we go, we of course have to say thank you to all of our patrons. We're at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, starting with our ultimate producers, Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the PlayStation Drive. You can check out all of his music at Purple Monkey Entertainment over at the Linktree, linktr.ee/pme/JIB. And Cwagmire, who humbly reminds you that the best babes are in fact Xenobabes. All of our ultimate producers' links can always be found in the description of our podcast. So make sure to go and support them, as they support us, and they're pretty awesome. Our platinum producers, Smokin Joe, The Captain, and Tim Paullin, and our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Awesome Dave 1337, BobLoblaw, Brad Moore, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, CowboyDangerD, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Hoppel, Jan32, Kia Savoy, Patrice Mallette, Peje EP, Shane Erickson, Tech Mike, and Tim Aulph. Huge thank you once again to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. And if you want to head on over there and hop in the car with us, of course, choose the tier that's right for you. You won't regret it. And also, we got the 7-day free trial of the exclusive tier. So make sure to head on over there as well. Maybe check out some of that exclusive content, like my episode of the Pants Patreon podcast for Patrons podcast, or of course, Matt's doing his first episode of the Pants podcast, which will be out tomorrow on the Patreon.
Super cool.
And maybe that episode will be more entertaining than the body, because I talked about Bubsy a whole lot on my episode. Because Bubsy's back, Garrett. I don't know if you knew this, but Bubsy's back.
I hear it's back in some...
They're doing a collection. A Bubsy collection is coming out next year, including Bubsy 3D, Garrett. We're finally getting Bubsy 3D on modern platforms.
The absolute worst 3D game ever
That's
made.
not true. There are worse games.
There are worse 3D games.
I will argue that Ride to Hell Retribution is a worse game, Garrett. A worse 3D game.
And apparently it's that studio who made Bubsy 3D went off to make Siphon Filter and turned into Ben Studio, right?
I don't remember.
I
don't remember this part of the story, but you might have taught me something, Garrett.
Yeah, Bubsy. Hold on, let me look it up.
Oh no, you're right, because it was developed by Ben Studios. Holy crap!
Yeah, it was developed by Ben Studio. Then they went off to make Siphon Filter after this.
And then Days Gone, of course.
And Days Gone.
That explains a few things. You know, Days Gone. People like that game, Garrett. I don't know if you knew that. But
it's a good game. It's a solid game.
It's got freakers in it. I know that.
They're freaking out for sure.
They're freaking out. Anyways, Garrett, we should probably get out of here before we descend even more into madness. So Garrett, please go.
You can follow me on Twitter at Bland Explosion. You can also find me on the Discord. I'm reading all your messages. The Falcon Bros are going too strong this week, Ryan.
Yeah, they are.
They're a little too proud, you know. They had them Pride Week because of Canadian and Pride Month and of course 4th of July. Now they're getting into the Falcon Bros, and it's too much. Falcon Bros is too much. There's the Daybreak game. Apparently it's good. Apparently it's their all-time favorite. The sequel's coming out next year. They're just going bananas over there. But good for you guys. Good. Of
course, Ron, of course, is here to represent the Falcon Bros. By the way,
the Falcon Empire. Jesus, that just sounds dogmatic.
I mean, they're getting so many people now, Garrett. They might as well. They can start calling themselves an Empire instead of the Bros.
Oh my goodness. But anyways, yeah, I'm reading all those messages.
I was gonna say, I just love. You know what? Even though I don't really love those games, I'm glad people love them, and I'm actually glad that they're all excited about them. Like that, it's been fun to see the positivity around that game. So you know what? I don't like those games, but I like the fact that y'all like them. That's what I'm gonna say. So yes.
Cool.
As for me, of course, actually, that's a good time. Real quick, before I get into my plugs, Garrett. Shout out to the Discord, by the way. Folks that don't know, of course, the Discord is free to join. The link is in the show notes. If you haven't joined the Discord already, you should head in there. We're having lots of great conversations. If you want other people to talk about Trails Through Daybreak with, I mean, we got the perfect venue for that in the Discord. You can head over there to the RPG Cave section and talk about role-playing games. But also, that's how you get your question on the show. It's by Discord. So if you head on over there, you can ask a question, but also, talk about the Falcom stuff. Or actually, again, I saw a lot of new people in the Final Fantasy 14 section this week, Garrett, because we have a Final Fantasy 14 section of the Discord.
Nice.
So it's cool to see more people, including like someone who was brand new to the Discord who was just talking about Final Fantasy 14. It was awesome. So
that's good to hear. I like having these communities come together, and of course with the Falcon Bros, I know a lot of people are into it, so I want to join the Empire someday. It's just not today. I don't know about this year.
Maybe never. Who knows?
Maybe never.
I will preface, Garrett, no Falcon games made by Tournament Brackets tonight.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, as for me, you can find me on the old Twitter, aka X, at Ryan Turford. You can also find us on X at Carpool Gaming. Also find me tonight, twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming live at 10 p.m. Eastern time. If you're, of course, watching this on the day this releases, where I will put up my tournament brackets and we will vote on them as a community to see what game I play next, or games, because it could be two winners.
Please vote Zelda, please.
I mean, someone's got to vote for Charlie's Angels, Garrett, and I mean, that's on a different bracket, so you can't even worry about Charlie's Angels spiking the vote for Link to the Past.
Don't vote Sea of Stars. Vote for Link to the Past. That's all I have to say.
I don't know. People are like, man, that Sea of Stars. Like, Amanda's been trying to get me to play Sea of Stars forever, Garrett.
I know. Well, forever, it's like less than a year, so I don't know.
I mean, someone might be like, you know what, Ryan, you need to play Super Mario RPG on Switch because you haven't done that yet. So
that's a fine game. It's a good game. I liked it. So.
Chaos will be engaged, says Ron. Excellent. Cool. And of course, if you're listening to this in the future, you already know who won. So did I make a good choice? Let me know in the YouTube comments as well. Also, the VOD will be up on Twitch as well. So you can definitely go check that out over there. You can also find us right here, youtube.com/carpoolgaming. Of course, podcast services around the globe. So for Garrett Bland, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been the 144th level of the RPG Cave. Only 6 more levels to go until level 150, Garrett.
Oh, dang.
And we're out. Good night, everybody.
Bye.